happy to welcome you. I'm happy. I asked to Sarah Colton, especially to organize something in order to make a review of what's happened in the past 10 years. Obviously, as a founder of Esxence, I'm proud to be there after 10 years. In 10 years, a lot of things happened. The main things, in my opinion, are related to the fact that quite no one knows each other when we started. And people now learn to speak each other, to share experience, to work together sometimes on market, to converge on same retailers. And that created really and reinforced the network. That is a phenomenon, in my opinion, very interesting because when I started in '94 to work for in the artistic perfumery in Italy and then worldwide, contacting a lot of people, I realized that there was a lot of energy, but no one that was capable to concentrate all this energy and to let the energy to explode in something. And I think that in 10 years, there was an explosion. And so we will give you later on some information, but especially I'm happy to ask you or we will ask to every exhibitor to give us their feedback this year, and we will make an analysis of this data in order to understand exactly what's the need and what the change we have to make at Esxence as an exhibition, because that is not only an exhibition. What is most important is the workshop, is to share information, to analyze what is new. So the awards, for example, when we met Saskia, for some years we created some awards by ourselves. But when we realized that it was a magic system to analyze what is new, what is the potential, a blind testing and different culture that evaluate what is the creativity in perfumery, immediately we give all the space possible to Saskia. Because Saskia is absolutely made a wonderful work that it makes no reason to make the same or the copy. And so my personal approach to that area is cooperation, studying what the other one make, learn, and try to obtain the maximum possible return on that. It's still a problem existing that the world don't know us so much. And we need to let the people know who we are, what we create, what is our mission. And Esxence, that is the role of Esxence. When Esxence has a role to give opportunities. And giving opportunities means also to give services. And so we are more and more committed to grant services to the people that follow us in order to create worldwide and to let all the emerging market to have a proper network distribution in niche perfumery. So I stop myself here, but I can answer to any question if you have any question about Esxence, and I'm happy to ask Sarah to start. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. And thank you, Silvio, for hosting us all at Esxence and for surviving 10 years. Is this too loud? It's okay? Okay. Anyway, my name is Sarah Colton.
Sorry to interrupt you a second, because I received finally a data. I would like simply to tell you something.
Okay.
Because I forget the file, sorry. Just to let you know, today we have about 64% of exhibitors coming from abroad. So Italy is less than 40%. The 79 coming from Italy, 73 from France, 4 from Austria, 1 from Belgium, 6 from Switzerland, 1 from Czechoslovakia, 9 from Germany, 2 from Denmark, 6 from Spain, 2 from Ireland, 1 from Arabic country, 1 from Japan, Monaco, 3, 2 from the Netherlands, 1 from Qatar, 2 from Sweden, Turkey, and 6 from United Arab Emirates, sorry, and 11 from UK and 9 from United States. Okay. Actually, we have 81 main brands and 108 spot brands and 31 brands in Esxence for a total of 220 exhibitors brands. Last and finally, we had a 60% increase in Esxence exhibitors because that is obviously a search of who will be, which will be the player later on. New brands this year, 63. New main brands, 4. 44 was Spotlight and 15 new entry in Esxence. That's all. Thank you so much.
Okay. Oh, no problem. Okay, just to introduce myself, I'm Sarah Colton. I'm originally from America, but I live in France. I have American and French nationality. And I'm a journalist and a writer. And like many of you, the first time I came to Esxence, I came as an outsider. I thought I was coming as an outsider. But I soon realized that the community of people at Esxence and the community of people in the niche fragrance world is actually a community of outsiders. But we're tightly bound together by our passion for perfume and our feeling for the power of perfume. Can you hear me? Okay. And so in addition to writing about perfume as a journalist, I also realized that there was something that I could do because I wanted to even be more part of this community. And so I began working with Silvio, creating panels and organizing panels and bringing together members of this community to share our different experiences so that we could help each other, move forward so that, like you were saying, we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. We can share our experiences, and then it makes it easier for all of us, and it brings us together. And so as I look out in this crowd, it makes me really happy to see so many of you that I've gotten to know over the last 8 years that I've been here. Some of you I've worked with in panels. Some of you I've just known through working over the years together and telling crazy stories and wondering what we're doing. And then some of you I've never met before, but we'll soon be friends because we're all part of this community. And so for this year's 10th anniversary, it seemed appropriate to talk to members of the community who have been here, some of you for 10 years, 9 years, but you've been coming back year in and year out because something about it, you found something that you could bring to the community, and you clearly found something that you could take back from the community. And so the purpose of the panel today will be to let you all speak about what you've brought and what you've taken away, how things have changed over the years, and how you see things changing in the future. And the panelists include a brand owner. I'll let them introduce themselves when they're speaking, but we have a brand owner, a journalist, a perfumer, a buyer, and Silvio, everything else. So as we proceed through the discussion, I'd like to invite you all to think about your own experiences at Esxence and what it's been for you. And I'd like to remind you of something that I feel very strongly, and that's this, that the niche fragrance community is not something that's out there. It's not the panelists. It's not some article you might read about in a magazine or some report about niche fragrances. It's us. We're the niche fragrance community. It's the panelists. It's you. It's me. It's our products. It's our dreams. It's our reality. It's the challenges that we're facing together. That's what the niche perfume is about, and it's who we are. And we are this community because if it's not us, who in the world could it possibly be? And because it's us, we have a huge responsibility. And we are the actors. We are the players. And as of course you figured out by now, Esxence is the major gathering of the clans. Esxence is the gathering of the niche perfume community from around the world. And you just heard the names and the numbers of the people who are here This is a huge community, and we're all part of it. And another very important thing about Esxence is that Esxence is a major call to action. We are the players, we are the actors. The future and the present is in our hands. If it's not in ours, who else would it be? For the moment, we're going to be talking about this amazing history that we've created over the past 10 years. And now it's entirely up to us. Thank you. So, to start off, we have 4 major discussion points. And the first one, oh, I have this thing. It's in my hands. All right, here we go. Oh, yeah. What is the unique nature of Esxence, and what does it mean for niche fragrance brands? And I'm going to call on Ulrich Lang. Oh, wait, sorry. Get in the right direction. There. Uli is the co-owner of Ulrich Lang New York. And as a typical American, he's not American, he's German. And as a typical American niche fragrance player, he's not American, he's European. So Uli, tell us a little bit about what you see as the unique nature of Esxence.
I hope you guys can hear me. Oh yeah, it's working properly. So as Sarah just introduced me, so I have a brand, it's called Ulrich Lang New York Fragrances. And I do have 2 anniversaries of sorts myself. I've moved to New York 20 years ago, and I started my brand 15 years ago. So I was pretty early on, one of the people manufacturing things for people who were looking for something different. And so I had the privilege also to, really see the evolution of Esxence since the very beginning. So I was at the first edition, which I remember, I think was at La Permanente, very close to here in Via Turati. And I think at the time, there was another fair in Florence happening, which started 5 years earlier. And I think the talk was about, does Italy need another fair? This is it's kind of redundant, to do 2 at a time. And then over the years, and I think I participated at the very first edition, and then came back year after year after year. I think I've been here every year since the beginning. So either with a distributor or exhibiting myself or coming as a visitor, and really also saw it from, going from strength to strength and really positioning itself very differently, very internationally. And I think it's pretty safe to say also, if you look at the international trade show scene, it's very similar to another market I'm familiar with, the art market, which I spent several years in. And you have to go to Art Basel. And in a similar fashion, this has become the destination you cannot miss. If you're not at Esxence, then you're not part of the community. So, and again, similar to an art fair, people come here the first day because they want to have first dibs and want to see everything. So as the market has also evolved and really exploded probably over the past 10 years, if you can say that, so has this fair, and it really has established its own character. It's a much more international city, it's much more fashion, it's a lot more international buyers and people interested in this field. So I think this is a very exciting time also, and congratulations to Silvio for really opening a brand new avenue for a brand that wants to interact with some of the best buyers around the world. And as we are coming back here year after year, we also see that our key audiences are switching. It used to be very Eurocentric. Now then in between it was the Middle East, having a really strong interest in niche. And now this is a very exciting time because I'm experiencing it myself. We see more and more clients from Asia, which has become really the luxury market #1. And I think again, Esxence is paving the way to have these buyers here right away, from the beginning.
Okay, does anybody want to make a comment on that, or should we just go ahead and maybe Claudia? Oh, Silvio.
Just a comment regarding what Uli told. The event in Florence, I was the founder also, so unfortunately it's Fragranze, but that is a domestic event, and my recommendation as an Esxence manager is that any country have to develop their own domestic event, possibly, because that is very important for the network in any single country. So the coordination by Esxence worldwide is so important, but also we have nothing against the fact that some event could grow up in different markets. Secondly, Esxence born from a previous experience inside Cosmoprof. I was once again the founder. There was Masterpieces, and we was guest inside Cosmoprof some years ago, and then we decided to leave and to be complete independent here. The same story has happened. I used to say that David and Goliath, every time the story is about David and Goliath, because Fragranze was a guest inside another fair, and then he became independent. As we started inside a big fair like Cosmoprof. Today we are completely independent. And that is so important. That is a demonstration how the growth was. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Claudia, you're a journalist. Tell us what you see as the unique nature of Esxence, and you tell us your thoughts.
Yes. Silvio already told many things that I would have told. But it's very important to underline, in my opinion, since I attended to so many exhibitions all over the world, because our magazine has as a target the international distributors and international brands. Export magazine, yeah. But what is very important to underline is that Esxence was born from a need of the market. And it was not founded because one exhibition organizer thought that the perfume market was an interesting business. There were two kinds of players. One was the connoisseur of the industry, who knew that the industry of the niche was growing, but it was like a declaration of faith at that moment, 10 years ago. He was feeling that the industry was needing something different from what they experienced before, and they were so smart to translate this need into a cooperation with an exhibition expert, which is Equipe International. The two of them, with their different expertise, made Esxence and may develop this concept. Esxence was born small, like all new things, like all new businesses. No? You were born small, we were born small, and then if the objective and the investments and the heart behind all the initiatives is positive, then the exhibition grows, the event, as you say, the workshop, everything inside, because it's not only the exhibition is a small part of this concept. Then you can grow. And the fact of being in Milan is very important compared to other exhibitions mentioned now, because Milan is a hub not only for the Italian market, but also for the international market. And the fact that the 62% of the exhibitors are foreign and not Italian is a proof that international brands find Esxence the right place where to be. No? Now, the second step, very important, that Silvio wanted from the very first day, was not only to have an exhibition where the Italian distributors show Italian brands and international brands they represent, but they wanted from the first day to have the principals coming and exhibiting and show their own brands. And this is very important because then it's a brand story, it's not a commercial story only. Thank you.
Yes, I think that's a very important point. And just picking up on your last part, the people behind the brands. You know, perfume is really an expression of people. And it's the people in this community that are the perfume community. So thank you very much, Claudia. Cécile, would you like to speak next? Do you want to answer some of the others? But introduce yourself and then go ahead.
Hello everyone, I'm Cécile Zarokin. I'm an independent perfumer. So in a few words, I was trained, I did the school, ISIPCA, you know, in France, the perfume school. And I did my training in Grasse, in south of France, in a fragrance company called Robertet. Then I used to work for Robertet 2 more years in Paris. And in 2011, I decided to found my own company to be an independent perfumer. So it's been 7 years now, and it's true that when I started as an independent, I first heard about Esxence through my clients, telling me how it was, and so I decided to, yeah, well, let's give it a try and see by myself, even though I must say that at the time, actually, I just had a baby 3 weeks ago, but since everybody was telling me, you have to be there, you have to go to Milan and see Esxence, because it's really, really important, and it's a really, really huge event. So I took my husband, my son, and I attended my first Esxence like 6 or 7 years ago, I think. As Claudia and Uli and Silvio have said it before, what is really important about Esxence is that it's not about only Italian distributors, but it's very international, and it's really focused on the brands. I mean, it's not only commercial, and each brand can express its own identity, his own DNA, and not through some distributor or some group that's, I mean, you can share a distributor, but the brands can be very, very different. So it's very important for the brand to be able to express itself. And I think that's what was really different at the time, and also because it's Milan, and because you also pay attention to, let's say, details that are also part of the event. I think is that the conferences or the event, the party, because at some point what is also important, I think, is that it's business, but you know, you can really share and connect with people. Again, it's not just about fragrance and products, but people. And what's the best occasion to connect with people, with your partners, with your journalists, with your clients, than having the fair, but also the dinner, the events around it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, and Laurence, would you like to introduce yourself and say a few words?
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I'm Laurence. I come from Switzerland. In a nutshell, I work for a company called Bon Génie. It's a family-owned business, quite old, 150 years old. They have shops mainly for prêt-à-porter. I mean, it's high-end fashion. But the perfume business is also something historical. It's been in the company for many years, and there are 2 retail shops for that. It's Geneva and Lausanne. So it's small for the company, but at the same time, it's very important because it's growing a lot, and we are considered as an important niche player, even though we are a bit, I mean, we're not a chain, and we definitely have a very different approach. So I'm a buyer. I've been a buyer for the last 3 years. So I'm very honored to be invited here and to be part of this workshop. I think I'm really a baby in comparison to everybody sitting here. So thank you very much, Silvio. And prior to my buyer experience, I'm really a marketing person. So I apply that day to day to everything I do because I have my client in my head as my #1 focus and the strategy of my company as well. And I have to find the right mix all the time. So how can I find the niche brands that fit into my business model and correspond to my client needs or desires? And then, of course, you always need to be at the forefront and guess what your clients are going to want. That's a bet, not easy all the time. But I use really my marketing head in that. And what I love coming here is that I can apply that to every single brand that I've been looking at yesterday. I'm not finished yet, but I look at what they have done. So what's the image that I perceive? So repeating a little bit what Cécile just said. What's the expression? What's the brand image? What do they want to communicate? By the way, I have 6 brands here that I'm selling, and I was very interested to see the way they communicate their brands, because for some of them, I was expecting exactly what they did, and for others, I was surprised, even though I sell them. Mm-hmm. So it's quite interesting. And yeah, so going around the fair yesterday, I really did my exercise. I mean, I tested the brands when I started talking to them. You know, what is your USP? Mm-hmm. What do you want me to know about your brand? Yes. What is it here? What's the emotion? What's the history? What's the quality? I test every single thing. At the end of the interview, if I can say that, some of the brands I'm feeling, wow, this is super. This is amazing what they've done. They're totally unknown. But it's amazing. This is so precious. It's a jewel. Doesn't mean that I will buy them tomorrow. Unfortunately, there's also some limitation in terms of budgets and whatever. But if I could, you know, I've seen dream brands yesterday, definitely. And for others, no, not convinced. But it's interesting anyway. I've learned so much because it's like a huge market available in one shot. Instead of doing a lot of research, digging online, getting contacts, seeing where, you know, where they are available, where they're distributed. It's like a museum, but alive and kicking in one spot. So I really, really think it's a thrilling experience. I enjoyed it very much, and it's very interesting for my business to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. I would just like to add to that, and it's something that I've spoken with several of you about in the last few days, even last night at dinner, that you can do your research, and the internet is great. You can find out all the things. You can go to people's virtual sites. You can walk around in their stores practically. But there's nothing that replaces a personal meeting, a conversation that you can only do on the spot. And you know, maybe you can't have one without the other today, but a place and a meeting place like Esxence is an essential ingredient in all of this. Yes?
If I can.
Yes?
I speak too much, I know, but anyway. The first comment is about Cécile, because I remember the day I went in her lab the first time, and she's one of the new perfumers that really had a growth in their business thanks to Esxence, I think. So here you find finally the decision maker, and you propose someone to create something, and you have the opportunity to be much more a perfumer in our field, I think. The other point is Milan is a hub, but I think there is another very important thing. So since when we started, the number of perfume shops in niche perfumery that opened the doors in Milan grew up dramatically. So you will find much more shops in Milan today proposing niche perfumery than in Paris. Ah. Or better. you know, you have more in Paris because you have all the single brands. But you have, if you come into Brera district in Milan today, or we have a lot of them today. So in Brera district, in Magenta district, you have much more than that. It is growing, it's growing, it's growing. So that is today Milan is a capital for perfumery. The other point is very important, thanks to Lorenza, that we have to consider that we have in front of us a very complex future. Because something is happening in our market, because you know a lot of benchmark in our business have been bought by a multinational company today. And that is something that is changing completely the marketing probably in the next future. So the point is, what will be the future? What will be the risk of the opportunity for retailers? Which will be the new emerging brand that should have a good future, because today the network is larger, so also the risk to launch a new project should be a little lower than in the past. And so that opportunity is a SWOT analysis, so it's the opportunity, risk, etc. But it's very important because it's very dynamic. And so the role of Esxence must be to follow that, to report everything about that, understanding what is the opportunity. And thanks to Lorenzo, because you know, obviously what would be the point? In some market, you need department stores. You can count on a private-owned shop because sometimes the network is not existing at all, or you have to rebuild it. And so the point is, sometimes you have to count on department store. Up to now, that is my personal opinion, department store never consider in a proper manner the niche perfumery, never create a know-how inside the department store capable to propose and to manage a multi-brand purpose with the coherence inside. And so one of the reasons why I invited Lorenzo, because when I went in Bongeny, I realized that finally I went in a contest in which you have the identity of the department store and the commitment to be capable to propose what they selected to propose to their clientele. So it's not simply a shop-in-shop, a colonization. It's a department store that has a proper clientele, and you want to propose an assortment of brands that they choose, they select, and they learn how to tell. So that is so important, because it's not simply a brand to sell. As Sarah told, every time you have to come into the brand, deciding if the brand makes sense, is coherent with your mission, and to propose it. And niche perfumery is a very specific section. The other point, because I'm quite surprised that to receive very limited number of comments about it, but probably you realize that some, let me say, how to tell them, super big brands in our area, are not exhibiting at Esxence, or they were exhibiting and are no more. And that is, for me, curiously, is a key of success. What does it mean? Because if you speak about brands like, let me say, Diptyque, Creed, or Artisan Parfumeur, etc., they was proposed when the distributor was there. But the problem, or with some other brands like Creed, the problem is that they already established a network worldwide. So they spend the maximum number of time telling no to the people. And so it's not a proper manner to work, because when you are a mature brand, you need something else. But all of them are around there making meetings. So I already proposed that there is a lounge there, but that will be improved in the future. So letting this brand, they would like to be there because they have the buyers, because they can meet all their distributors, they can meet all their retailers, and they save a lot of money, believe me, because they have come in Milan and they made, let me say, 12 different meetings. And so what we are looking for with the organizing committee to find the way to propose to this brand, according to the fact that the committee approved them once again, because I repeat that no one is approved for eternity. Every year you have to submit your demand, your form, and we will approve or not. But today we will have, let me say, a private launch in which you have a list of the brands with the offices inside for the ones that are not interested to meet all the people. and having meeting with their correspondents worldwide. And if they want, they can have an external exhibition. So if they want to speak with the public, they can. If they want to speak with professionals, they have a private section. So that will be then one of the steps of development for sure of the meeting, because all of them are around that. And the other point is how many meetings, how many events you have outside around Milan during these days. So there is a community all around. They are working, meeting, chatting, etc. So it's very vital. And you really create every time a sort of little community, a little city that is working, discussing, creating. Personally, in this, only in 2 days, I face almost, I think, more than 7 different projects in which something that is going on. Absolutely interesting, and every time something happens, discussing. So we have to work all together for the future of that, and we need a meeting point like that.
Thank you. The next question that we wanted to talk about is, what are the most important takeaways from Esxence? And Silvio mentioned a little bit about, for you, Cécile, when you first came to Esxence, how many brands were you working for at the time? I just remember, people were saying, have you seen how many brands Cécile Zaroukian has in this? She probably has more than any other perfume. What happened? Tell us about your experience of coming and...
So as you mentioned it, so when I first came here, actually I think there was only one fragrance for Jovoy and one candle. But since, Jovoy has his own brand, but also is selling many other brands, that's how one client or project led to another. And so at some point it was like crucial to be at Esxence. I think it was like 6 months maybe after I started. And what is very, very convenient is that at the same place you have all the players there. You have the brands, you also meet journalists, you also meet the clients of your clients, because at some point, sometimes I work directly with distributors or retailers because, I support my client for the launches, and when they present the new fragrances, usually every time they choose Esxence to do it. Because again, it's about the brand, and they want to show their fragrance, not through a distributor, but to be able to really express themselves. And when I have worked on a fragrance for them, I think it's kind of a win-win. I need to support them and help them, and it goes also the other way around. For the fragrances that I've done for this client, then another one hear about it, and that's how at some point it was growing, and Esxence is really the best place to launch the fragrances, because again you can meet everyone, and you can really the brand can really show their DNA, their image, their identity. And it's really important, because I heard some of my clients saying, well, I will check, because I want to make sure that it's going to be about my brand. And because if it's just a new perfume, we have so many, if you are not able to, let's say, explain and accompany your launch, it's just pointless. It's just another fragrance added on the shelf, So that's why Esxence is really important. And again, for me, it's such a joy to be with everyone again, gathered at the same place. And again, it's from the supplier, the perfumers like me, or even some fragrance company, and to the final products with the perfume, the brands, but the distributors, the retailers, the journalists, and again, it's really about people. So that's really important to meet in person, as you have said it before. And I mean, if I had to, I didn't miss any Esxence since 2011, but that's something I need to check first. It's like, okay, I cannot miss it. So I need to check the date and make sure I will be there, because it's really important.
Thank you. Uli, tell us about what's your big takeaway as a brand owner?
So as a brand, of course, like, you know, the most important thing for us is like, you know, looking at new business, and opportunity is probably like the best word to phrase it. But I just want to put it in a slightly different context, because I think, you know, what's happening right now in retail globally is a major shift, and there's like crazy changes happening. And the very interesting thing about Esxence in that respect is that it really is a mirror of what is happening globally. Because you do get, like, you know, literally everybody, you know, in every stages of retail, and be it a small retailer that's just looking to, like, you know, increase the, you know, their niche assortment, or as we see, like, as we've especially seen in recent years, you know, very big players all of a sudden, like, approaching us. I'm not talking Amazon, but it's one of them. Notino, Zalando Beauty, and I'm not even also mentioning like what's happening in, you know, in markets like China, where, like, you know, niche is exploding at this point. But it's very interesting for a brand to see, like, you know, wow, what is the outlook and what can happen with your brand probably over the next couple of years. I think there's also, and this is probably like one of the discussion things that, the things that we need to discuss after, because, you know, I have a long relationship with some of my retailers, and some of them are struggling now because they are brick and mortar retailers, but at the same time, you know, the category is growing within their assortment. So I still want to devote as much time as I can to these guys, the little guys, without, you know, being so sidetracked by, you know, the guys who are offering me a lot more volume. And I think this is one of the challenges that I'm seeing, like, this year.
Thank you. And Claudia, as a journalist, when you, what is your biggest takeaway from coming to Esxence?
Esxence, let's say it in French, is something incontournable. You cannot avoid to be here and to experience all the new brands, the existing brands that have always something to show you. So it's a never-ending source of knowledge, of culture. And for us, as our magazine, during the last 3-4 years, feeling again, like Silvio at the beginning, the need of the market, we have decided to devote some special inserts of the magazine where we talk about only niche brands, because it's a hub, so they need to stay all together, and we created dialogue concerning the world of niche fragrances. So for us, it's an over-positive experience.
Thank you. And I wanted to add one thing to what you were saying, because you used the French expression of incontournable, which to me is like essential. It's a must. And I have a funny story for me, as I live in France, I'm American, and when I was beginning to come to Esxence, sometimes I would, and in fact often, I would have French journalists who would say, well, why are you going to Esxence? And in addition to writing an article, the first thing I would say was, I meet a lot of people there. I meet people. And so I can remember one particular experience that I had. I was with a very important French journalist at a party, and I said, oh, are you going to Esxence? And she said, no, I can't afford to go. And I said, oh, well, you know, as a matter of fact, I have a room because since I'm the panel, I have a room. You can share my room. All you have to do is pay the plane fare. And then she said, well, actually, I don't have time. I said, OK, fine. And so at Esxence, that was when I met Sarah Blair, who has the brand Map of the Heart. And so I met her family, I met all her people, her whole team, they were there. She's from Australia, so she doesn't come here all the time. And 3 days later, I was in a very small event in Paris, and in walked Sarah with her entourage, and all these Parisian journalists around, and nobody knew Sarah. And so I was introducing her to everybody. And this same journalist said, how do you know all these people? I met them at Esxence, I said. And she said, I still don't think the penny dropped. But it was just one of these things. And sorry, what were you going to say? Yes, it's just one example. Exactly. Okay, and Laurence? You haven't spoken on this topic yet, would you?
That's right.
You mentioned the fact that it was so important that you could actually see the people,
yes,
as opposed to just read about them.
Going back to the way I do business, so I'm really talking about myself in one way, so my personality, the way I work. I like numbers and equations, so for me, Esxence, it's a triple formula. I mean, so I have 3 plus and then equal. So the first is it's niche. Mm-hmm. That's specific because there's many other trade fairs or perfume, whatever, but it's really niche. We're talking about this specific market that I'm interested in. So fantastic, niche. Plus, the second factor is international. That for me is a must because in Switzerland we are international, small country, but totally international in terms of approach, clients. So if I don't have that, I don't come. So that's my second. And the third one is that it's rich by size. Mm-hmm. We have the numbers that Silvio gave us. Everybody talked about the networking, so it's rich in everything that you need, and that equals success. Oh, yeah. To me, that's what Esxence is. And just to give you a practical, down-to-earth example, yesterday I met somebody, a brand, of course. Basically, I've been chit-chatting, connecting with this brand for 2 years. But we never really made it to a real discussion for a go or for a launch. And yesterday, just with 45 minutes, I reached that, and I never managed that before. Mm-hmm.
So. Thank you. The next topic of discussion is about how Esxence has evolved over the years. And Silvio, you mentioned it a little bit a few minutes ago. I don't know if you want to say something or let some other people talk for the moment.
A very complex question, but obviously we have to evolve, for sure. We have to evolve, there is a demand, so we burn from a demand and we will continue, we will evolve according to the demand. I think that we have to improve the educational part, so obviously we are grateful to Osmotech, for example, that is a partner since the beginning, but all the other people that made trainings there, etc. I think that is the multimedia work will be very important because we have to share. So since some year we take videos or every single meeting, so you can have the opportunity to see what's happening in any single workshop, especially if you are an exhibitor, you can, yes. As me, I can attend to all the workshop organized, and that is a pity. So I'm obliged then to see again that. Later on is, I think we have more and more the duty to give opportunity, and so to study the market, to analyze what are the specific problems in different markets. Will be also registration or whatever will be according to regulation, and I think that we have to to teach the people how to promote with the simplest possible word our mission and our added value. Because there is a very important aspect about language. So I think that we spoke about, or the media spoke about perfume in a quite wrong manner, in my opinion. So we speak, or we try to tell the people every time what is inside as an ingredient. But it's not the truth. What is very important for a perfume, what is the emotion? Mm-hmm. You can get the same effect on the olfactive point of view with completely different ingredients. But what is very important is, are you really capable as a piece of earth of move the soul, to give emotion? So I think some simple, so it's happened to me sometimes, I used to say that to go in some university, letting some people smelling some fragrances with no reference at all to the brand, to the name of the briefing. And we asked to these guys, what you get, what the color, what emotion, what the space you are.
Yeah.
And what surprised me every time to see their face when we projected the words that they refer to us in an Excel file. The first reaction is to look each other because they are completely surprised they get the same message. Instead, that must be absolutely normal. People are not aware of the fact that they really listened the message and they understood the message. They don't need any training for that. They simply have to be trained in trust in themselves. That's all. And so what is our duty? To give them example on how easy it is to understand the perfume. Because a perfume is not an object. It's not a mask. It's not something to become like a testimonial. It's something that you share with you take with you, and it must represent you. And you must be absolutely confident with your perfume. So, and each of us is different. So I used to say that, I insist on the fact that a niche perfumery has theoretically the role to give a different perfume to any single customer. Because each of them is different. So it's a wonderful, strange market of slow mover. But you have a loyal clientele. So it's, under mathematical point of view, but my son is graduated in mathematics, so when Lorenza told me about the equation, every time it's a problem to discuss with my son because it's a different dimension. But I think it's really a question of letting the people understand the language. It's a language. It's like photography. So, for example, Uli started for photography some years ago, no? And so, personally, I'm trying to propose something according to music and perfume, and other people are making by sculpture and perfume. So there is a connection between different art, the capability to give emotion. And unfortunately, I used to say that perfumery is still a Cinderella in the art world. And we have to let the people to understand that we are exactly as we can compose perfume as we compose music. And people can listen simply and enjoy it. But it doesn't matter to tell that we collect the flower on the Himalaya mountains to extract whatever you want. It should be that. But what is very important is the mixture of different ingredients, the art of a nose that is capable to translate a briefing in a message that you smell. Oh, wow, that's wonderful, in my opinion.
Thank you. I think since we've really only got about 10 more minutes before we need to end the conference, and so I was thinking that it might be good for your answers now to combine, because it would be very interesting. Anyway, we have these two questions. How have you seen it evolved over the years, and how do you see it evolving, or how could it evolve in the near future? Let's see. Cécile, take it.
Okay. I was thinking also, I forgot to mention that what was the step for me, and I think also through the years, for Esxence for the fair is that Silvio, you asked me to do my exhibition with an artist, with an illustrator that I first did in Paris in 2011. Then we exhibited in London 2 years later, and then in 2014 you asked us to exhibit again here at Esxence, also to show and let's say promote perfume as an art, because the whole point of this exhibition was to make connections between illustrations, so the illustrator, the painter, and perfumes, and in both ways. I mean, in illustration, inspiring a perfume, and the other way around. And I think it was very important to show that again. Of course, it's work, of course, it's business, but it's a little more than that. And I think here in the niche market, it's a fragrance, it's a product because you are buying it, but you wish and you want more than that. And as a perfumer, for me, it's really important to be able to show that and to express my creativity, to have some freedom for that. And that was a personal project, so it was different. No commercial issues or marketing or whatever. But I am very lucky because I can do that also in my business, because I have brands exhibiting here and clients that want to do that. And actually, that's what is quite funny is that, so I did this, this exhibition, and one example is that at this exhibition, first in Paris, I met Cérine Vasseur and Régine from the brand Evody. And we were talking for many years, I mean, being friendly, and but didn't start working together. And then, so they saw the exhibition, and it happened that last year, through this brand, the brand owners asked me to work on artistic movements. So we create 3 fragrances about surrealism, fauvism, based on a painting of Matisse. Surrealism was kind of inspired by Magritte work. And finally, abstract art. Well, long story short, that's something for me that illustrates that we want to create something that where you can have emotions and feelings, and it's not just sans bon in French, you know, just something that, okay, it smells nice, but I mean, who cares? So yeah, that's something that was for me, and I think for the show, to really underline this point that it's about artistic perfumery, not just, of course, we want to make money, but that's not just about that. And also, so it's getting bigger, more brands, the location also changed, and I really like your attention to details like you have every year a theme. And again, I think what is also really enjoyable is the last night you have the parties. I'm back to that. Because I think at some point it's the last night, and it's always good to just, okay, we were focused for 3 days to work. It's very professional, let's say a bit formal, you have meetings, and okay, but at some points it's also important to build and strengthen relationships. And because at some point, maybe from a client, it's going to be a friend. And sometimes, as you mentioned it before, you were just chatting for many years, and at some points, because of that, because you met through an event, because it was nice, you had the nice conversation, and you really enjoy each other's company, you said, okay, we should start working together. And again, I think your parties are really, really amazing. I mean, what's the name? the scenery, the staging is really nice with and fun. Like for example, the dress code with the 80s was really fun.
Yeah.
And you have seen people very different from the let's say the all day long, you know,
Yeah.
very formal, with the men with costumes and everything. And then it was the 80s, and so it's rock and roll. Everyone has flashy colors, and it's also interesting, you know, to know people in a different way, in a different perspective, and had some fun at the end of the day, because it's work, but it can be fun too.
Thank you.
A little comment. I never pay 1 cent to Cécile, but there is no a party. An Esxence party without Cécile is not a party.
Okay. Go ahead,
First
Claudia.
of all, I have the perception that Cécile is a party girl.
Yes. Okay, we will talk later about what she's wearing on Saturday night. Claudia,
Second, I think that the evolution of Esxence is also made by the fact that the international people, the non-Italian people, feel at home
yes, yes.
when they come here. No, they talk about Esxence like if it is their own Esxence.
Yes, yes.
They don't go to Milan, a foreign place. They go at their own Esxence. And this, I think, is a success from the organizer, no? Because it is what Sarah said before. There is a sense of I am a part of the whole. No, I'm not isolated. I go there because I am in my family, in my context.
Yeah.
And this is really magic, and the magic has been realized, putting together many aspects. The conferences are one of these aspects, because the conferences change every year, and they evolve together with the evolution of Esxence. For example, this year we have 2 conferences on China. Ulrich said how important is Chinese market. We are in Italy, but we talk about China, because this is interesting for the exhibitors, for us to know more. And Chinese people talk about China, not professors of University of Berkeley or Milan. No? So the market really goes towards also the new markets, not only Europe, not only the States, not only the mature market, but also the potential markets where people know less about it. So the role of Esxence is also to give information about this.
Okay. Thank you. Uli, you've been
probably
here from the beginning and you're looking towards the future?
Probably adding to what Claudia said, like, you know, I think it's a huge achievement, Silvio, to really be relevant for such a long time. But I think one of the, you know, success factors of this fair is that it actually always is on the pulse of the time or one step ahead. So we as brand owners can tap into the future easily, because the conferences are structured in a way that you have themes like, you know, this is new, this is happening soon, similar to, like, you know, the people that are attending. You know, Laurence I'm meeting for the first time, and, you know, I've been talking to the store many years ago. So this is really great because we're reconnecting here.
Yeah.
And then you also see like a whole new wave of like players that are coming in on the retail side. And I think this is what Esxence has been doing very successfully over the past 10 years. Just being like that one step ahead, so you really have a reason to go. Because otherwise, you know, people skip a lot of fairs these days, you know, and say like, look, I'd rather stay home, or like, you know, I don't need to like, you know, do this big effort coming from New York, and like, you know, oh God, I don't want to travel again. So, you know, I think this is it's a really important subject.
Yes. Lawrence?
Thank you. I cannot answer to the question how it has evolved because it's my first year here. What I will say is that, I haven't said it so far, is that for my company, it's definitely an investment to send me here. And I've earned my seat in one way because, yeah, 2 years ago, they wouldn't have sent me here. So I think it's important to say that the way my company sees it, it's exactly the way I see it. It's a reward. It brings fantastic return on investment. But before coming here, I needed experience, I guess. Because I'm in this business relatively new, only 3 years.
Yeah.
If I had been here 3 years ago, I would have been totally immature. And I probably, for my company, I mean, I would have had a great time, but but for my company, probably I wouldn't have been so efficient because I was, yeah, too inexperienced. So I think I wanted to make this point because it's, for me, it's a kind of a learning path. It's a milestone in my experience. This is the way I see it. So I hope I can come back.
Thank you. We've come to the end of our time, and we have a few minutes if somebody would like to ask some question. Yes?
Thank you for this great panel. I would like to add and ask something. So for me, Esxence has always been like a 360-degree reflection of what is happening in niche. So we would be talking about distribution, about how brands evolve, how we can maybe separate a true artisanal niche brand from a, you know, more commercial niche brand. And I remember a couple of years ago, there was an initiative, or two initiatives actually here, being presented. There was Comité Joséphine, and I think the Caterina Medici. So two foundations who were, say, promoting niche fragrances and niche, the niche segment as, you know, doing some lobby work in order to be able to separate the true niche brands, artisanal brands, from the others. So I was wondering, now in 2018, where are we at?
He's got your mic. Sylvia, could you repeat his question a little bit? Because
so Hario, thank you, is asking something about what's happened to the initiative started from some brands as Comité Joséphine in French and Caterina de' Medici, then only Caterina, I suppose, in Italy. That is, you know, I was a scientist once, you know, and I was absolutely trained in the fact that you can put together a team. It is very difficult to maintain a team together, especially if you have more minds altogether. There was attempt, it's still existing partially, you know, both of them, but you know, the founder, for example, of Comité Joséphine now is no more the owner of the brand. And other people involved in Caterina de' Medici fight each other, and so there was some problem. So it's every time a problem of human being more than concept. The concept remains, in my opinion. Also, if there was a little mistake since the beginning, so it was a little too nationalistic concept. So I think that what I try, to be honest, I have to tell you that someone asked me to become the president of both of them, so I can be the president of the world. So I told them, thank you, I refuse, I can't do that. I think there is it's very important to let the consumer know what is the heritage, what is the capability of involvement of different markets, and know-how in different countries. But what I think I dislike, and I told to both of them, is there is nothing that makes French perfumery better than British perfumery or better than German perfumery. It should be interesting to promote their capability to communicate or to concentrate their effort in order to promote common event in each country promoting the concept. So something that it probably is not clear there, that I forbidden since the beginning to promote a brand inside this room. If you speak in this room, you have to speak for the community. If you speak in this room, you have to grant to the other one something that led them to grow up. If you speak of yourself, stay in your stand, please. So I suppose I never speak about my brand. I'm a distributor of 14 brands, but I'm not promoting one of them. So I think that the role here is each of us is dedicated parts of their time to the community, because the involvement of community is our future. Surely we will have a benefit for that. Surely our business will grow up. But as soon as you start to speak of yourself too early, you made a mistake. So I remember, I probably already told that there was Guy Robet, the great man in perfumery, the creator of Equipage, Madame Rocha, etc. We have a wonderful relationship. I am really grateful to this man. So I remember what he told me once. I sent him some perfume I made with the perfumer and asked him, what do you think? And he answered to me, bravo. Then I asked him in another email, yes, Guima, what was the best for you? And the answer was, never ask. And that was a wonderful teach, because if you trust in what you are doing for the committee, etc., coming back to the question, you have to continue to, you probably made mistakes, it's correct, but go on and don't look around if you're right or not. You have to promote, you have to write down a mission since the beginning. So what I told to both of them is, if you don't write down what you would like to obtain, and you don't declare exactly what is your aim, you are wrong. So Esxence, the website, you know, since the beginning, I wrote down the criteria the technical committee follow in analyzing any single demand. So every time criteria are so important. So I think that the brainstorming there, I do hope that we let this committee to return. But please write down the criteria before. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the end. If you have any other questions, send them to Esxence. We could keep a dialogue going forever, but it's somebody else's turn. Thank you for coming.
Can I say just one
yeah,
thing?
right. Yeah.
Just one thing. I am Valentina Cagnola, the director of the company Equipe International, organizing this event. As you probably know, since 10 years we are organizing this event, very successful one. But I wish to thank Silvio Levi, because we are co-founders together with him of the exhibition, but it was him that asked us to begin together this incredible adventure. And so I wish to thank him and to thank you all for being here year by year and to contribute to this success. Thank you very much.